In the upcoming lessons, I'm going to be finally deploying our apps to the Android Play Store and the iOS App Store. Up until now, we've been running our application using something called debugging. So this is where your IDE creates a version of the application that you can, test with and run on a device only while you're connected to it. So in this case, we were running it on an emulator, but you can also do it on a physical device. And this version of the application that we built is only used for testing your application and playing with it. When you want to release an app to either the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store, you want to create what is called a release build. Now what that means is you're creating a file of the application that basically encapsulates your whole app. So for the Play Store, you need to create a file called .apk or an app bundle. For the Apple App Store, you need to create a .ipa file. So these files that you create are the application that your users are going to be downloading it. It's the application. I like the way the Play Store calls it the app bundle because it's the bundle of your application that the user can actually interact with later on once it's actually approved by the stores. So then once you create these files, you're going to need to upload them to each individual Play Store or App Store. And you do that using a console that Apple and Google provide for you. So the Apple console looks something like this, and then the Google console looks something like this. Once you have that file we talked about, you're going to have to upload that file to their respective consoles and then start the process of actually getting your app released. It can then be similar to uploading a file to the database. So in this case, the file is your app file, and you're uploading it to Google's or Apple's database where they will be taking the application, reviewing it, and then eventually, hopefully, sending it out to all the users so they can use it. So once you upload it, there's going to be a whole process on both consoles to go through. Say there's stuff like you need to give a content rating for your app, see what type of access they need, what the target audience is. There's a good amount of stuff that you need to do before you actually get to release it. And then once you go through that stuff, you submit it for release, and then it goes to Google and Apple, and they each respectively take a look at it. They see if this is something that they would like to have on their app stores, and they can either accept it or they reject it and tell you why it got rejected. Now for Android, this is usually pretty straightforward. Your app can definitely get rejected sometimes, but as long as you're not doing anything crazy, you should most of the time get accepted. But for the Apple App Store, it gets a little tricky here. Sometimes it can be a real pain to release apps to the Apple App Store. They're very picky about all sorts of things, and your app can get rejected for even having just the wrong styles on it. One time, I had a login screen, I had an email password, and I decided to add a feature to have Google Sign-In on there to make it easier for users. So I added Google Sign-In, and I submitted it, and it got rejected. The reason it got rejected was because I didn't have Apple Sign-In. So apparently, Apple has a rule that if you add Google Sign-In to your applications, you have to have an alternative of Apple Sign-In as well. So you can get rejected for a lot of different things, but you just fix it up and then resubmit it, and hopefully eventually you will get approved. So the app that we're going to be going through the process with is the To-Do app that we built. Now we're going to go through the whole process up until the submitting part. We're not actually going to submit this app to the App Store. One reason is because, like I said, this process can take multiple iterations and rejections, and there's just no point. And the second reason is we built this app as a demo application for this course. If we actually were planning to release this application, turn it into a whole business, we would probably need to add some more features to it. But we will go through the whole process up until the submittal. And then if you are actually building an application and you're going through this process, we'll go through everything you need to do, and then you submit it, and there's two options that could happen. Either get accepted and you're good to go, or you get rejected and you have to fix stuff, go through the same process we went through here, and then resubmit it again. So we're going to be covering it all, but in case you get rejected, you might need to do it multiple times. So let's get started.